I had an emotional breakthrough.
Okay, do you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just the real estate business is hard, but I'm thankful I have positive people and around me that's helping me push through it.
Good. I love that. They say you have to have a breakdown in order to have a breakthrough, right? And we've said for a while there is sorry, there is an insane amount of traffic. This traffic is not an excuse, by the way, but I'm going to try to use it as one today. So I had to pull over to do this. Normally I'm at the office by this time. I apologize. Okay, so they say that if you want a better business, you first have to have a different business, right? And what that means to me is that if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always gotten. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. It just, if nothing changes, nothing's going to change, right? And so Larry, what you're experiencing is most likely stuff that other agents have experienced as well, and you're bringing the right attitude to it. I can tell you that, right? If you get affected by every little up and down, this is going to be a tough business, right? So we just got to know that every single day, like Donna loves to say, there is somebody in our community today that needs great real estate help. And my job is to go find that person, right? Or those people. Thanks for sharing that. Who else wants to share? Anybody? Okay, let's get right to it today. Just a quick reminder. Well, actually, let me say one other thing first. So just a quick reminder, this evening at the Market Center from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, we're going to be having a kind of an in-person meet and greet. Give you an opportunity to meet some of the people that have hang Rick, I'm gonna
one of your bios of some kind. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna have an opportunity for agents to meet each other. We've also encouraged you to bring a +1. The idea there is a significant other, a spouse, a friend, a child, just a cheerleader for you, somebody that's been supportive of your business and wants to see you be successful and hit all your goals. So that's going to be at the Market Center from 6 to 8 o'clock tonight. We will be feeding you guys. Be a couple icebreakers, a couple of really fun announcements, and looking forward to getting a chance to meet everyone. Of course, there is no fee. We will be giving away a couple of prizes, one of which is a ticket to Mega Camp, which is like a probably $200 at least expense. So if you're not RSVP'd, please send me a message privately so I know how many to expect. One of the things that I want to share with you guys, I've been thinking a lot about the book Shift lately. Shift is available. It actually is in our Google Drive. So you can have a PDF version of the Shift book, or of course you can always go onto YouTube and get like an audio book of it, and you can do that for free. And I think that this is a book just like MREA that you guys should be reading pretty regularly, right? This should be kind of this should be typical language for you, right? To really understand how to interact with your customers, right? What questions to ask them. That way you know how to serve them, right? You are moving them through the process appropriately. You're preventing or mitigating surprises. You're setting proper expectations, and you are becoming a service provider. This thought just popped into my head, and knowing who's on the call, some of you probably haven't heard me say this. Let's actually experiment with this for a second. If I were to say, Ryan, who is your biggest competition? Who would you say?
Well, right now, everybody.
Okay. Okay.
But I mean, in terms of I don't know how you exactly say that.
Well, I'm intentionally being vague, just so you know. It's not a trick question. There's a lot of answers.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, I would say just myself almost.
I think you've kind of alluded to the two most popular answers. One is yourself, right? Which I think is a very good answer. It's not the direction I want to go today, but it's a very good answer. And the other is like Archaea or Larry, you know, other agents, right? Because we're all trying to find essentially the buyers and the sellers. And while I think there's plenty of opportunity, a lot of times we view our competition, you know, we need to study our competition so we can offer a more appealing value proposition, right? Where I want to head today is there's a different type of person or entity that you're competing against as well. And I would say that's any service provider, right? So you take a company like the Ritz-Carlton or Amazon or something like that, the level of service and the level of intentionality and the amount of information they know about me so that they can give me the other information I need is incredible, right? So if somebody gets back from a vacation and they've stayed at the Ritz all week and the right newspaper was delivered to their front door, right, and the right coffee was delivered to their room, and everyone in the building addressed you by name, and you had a picture of your family when you walked into the hotel room on the nightstand, right? These are that's a certain level of experience. Then they come home and the next person they interact with is you when they invited you over to interview for listing the home. And I'm not saying this to you, Ryan, but you know, bless you, the presentation is weak, or you didn't prepare, or you know, your level of service is not as high as perhaps it should be. That they're comparing it to that. Y'all see that? So we're not just up against real estate agents, we're up against any service provider. You guys know what happened to me for the very first time in my entire life last night? This is really interesting. I had my door knocked. It's never
Oh,
happened to me before. Okay. And I saw this guy, he's actually on a Segway. You guys know what that thing is? Where it's just like a little, you're standing on the little rectangle thing and you're going up and down the streets. So we just put our kids to bed and we saw him across the street. So I went down on the porch because I didn't want him to ring the doorbell and wake my kids up. And it turns out he was selling like pest control and termite coverage, which I happen to need a little bit of help on that. Right. And I was just in awe by the way he did his business. It was just really impressive. He had a different approach than I would typically recommend, and I really liked it. And I got to tell you, I really respected the hustle. Like, I will be using that guy. You see
what
what
do
I'm
you
saying?
mean that he had a different approach because he was on a scooter?
No. He had a different approach. Like, he was a
No,
little bit kind of like, he had an interesting introduction as far as I'm concerned. Like,
gotcha.
it's kind of interesting because I was chatting with my wife about this, and she says, "I'm not opening the door for some stranger. I'm not doing that." Right?
Mm.
And I said, "What's the big deal? He's working hard. Let's go see what he's trying to sell." Right? And he approached it like, "Hey, just want to let you know, I'm with a real company. I'm not a dangerous person, right? A couple of your neighbors, I've done some business with this guy and this guy who I knew." And like, he just had a very soft opening, but it was a very comforting opening that he was a safe person, right? So I was respectful of that. The whole reason why I brought that up is because people are constantly, whenever somebody gets into a situation, their natural instinct is to start judging.
Yeah.
They're going to judge you either favorably or less than favorably, right? So they're going to be judging you on your, I hate to say it, on your appearance, on the way you speak, on your knowledge of the market, on the way you ask questions, on the way you answer questions, right? So I want you guys to think of yourself as you're a performer, right? You have to practice your presentations, your performances, right? So just like any athlete or runner or whatever it is, they're practicing so that when it comes time for showtime, they've done this 100 times, thousands of times. Make sense?
Yes.
So one of the things that I want to share with you, I'll start off by sharing this quote. This is from, hang on, let me get back to where I was in the shift. This is from page 124 in the shift book, from a guy named Greg Cooper. And he says, "A lead is as good as the agent who works it." Do you guys believe that?
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
The effort that you put into it. If it,
Okay.
if this business means anything and you have a lead, you're going to follow up.
Right. So I would say
Right.
it's that for sure, but I'd say there's a good bit more involved too. What other things come to your mind when you think of that? So for example, you got to get to the point where they even want you to follow up, or you probably have to
Right.
get some information from them in order to know what to follow up with, or how to follow up, or how often to follow up, or how assertive to be, or how in which manner you want to follow up, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I want everyone to think about this is, are you on a daily basis showing intentionality on becoming better at working those opportunities? Make sense? So remember we talked about kind of splitting the day in two, typically. Part of the day we're spending learning, right? Practicing, studying, practicing again. The other part of the day we're meeting people. Same kind of concept, right? So let's talk for a second about closes, okay? And this book is full of great material, right? It's got questions you should ask. I'll just really briefly kind of hint at this. I think we're going to talk about this later in the week. The 6 connection questions, right, are: who are they? What do they want or need to do? Where do they want or need to do it? Why do they want or need to do it? When do they want or need to do it? And how do you plan to do it, right? So if you know those kind of things, then you know exactly how to service them. If you don't understand somebody's motivation, or you can't kind of bring clarity to what might be a little bit of a kind of a foggy situation or a foggy request, an example of that would be like, let's say the wife wants to move to a level 10, the husband doesn't want to move at all, right? Or maybe maybe this couple is splitting up, right? So there's a lot of challenges that you might have to navigate as you're taking somebody from the beginning of this process to the end of the process. Okay. So we're going to ask lots and lots of questions, and then it's time, ultimately, after you've given a presentation, where it's time to close. Okay. So I want to read you a little bit, a couple paragraphs of this book. Okay. It says, many agents ask, why am I always being told to close, 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 close? Close early, close often. There's a time-tested reason. While people talk in absolutes, they seldom think in absolutes. Most of the time, a no isn't an absolute no, and a yes isn't an absolute yes. There's a continuum. The continuum's on the top of page 125, okay? Or 126, I'm sorry. People use the words without being committed to them, and you don't really know where they are on that continuum. Every no can become a yes, and every yes can become a no. Closing is the process you use to find out where they are and what they are committed to. As a salesperson, you aren't attached to their decision. Your goal is just to help them make one. Do y'all understand that?
Yeah.
Let me reread that. Your goal, or as a salesperson, you aren't attached to their decision. Your goal is just to help them make one. Okay. If they want to buy now, great. If they want to buy in 6 months, great. I'll be in business then. I'll want a closing then as well. No big deal. Right. In the context, the yes or no we seek is about getting an appointment. While this concept is bigger than just asking for an appointment, it directly applies to it. So in closing, take a closer look at the different ways you can be a closer. Okay. Remember, you don't want to try to fight every objection over the telephone. You are not going to win that battle. Okay. The goal of the telephone is, how quickly can I get the information I need and book an appointment? Then the appointment is where the magic happens. Okay. Let's go through a couple of these closes. Number one is the hard close. Let's meet. Right. We've kind of always talked about a variation of this where it says, sounds amazing, sounds like we should meet, or I understand what you're saying, sounds like we should meet, or I hear you, sounds like we should meet, right? Almost whatever they say, you could say, that's amazing, sounds like we should meet, right? You want to move to Walton High School District? That's awesome. When should we get together, right? When should we meet? The soft close. I've really enjoyed visiting with you. Would you like to get together to discuss this further? Right? As you're identifying and interacting with these people, you might find one or several of these to be more applicable in your courtship with these people. Okay, the direct close: can we meet today? Right? The indirect close: would it be okay if I got you some information to look over and then we can meet to discuss? If they say yes, what they're actually probably saying yes to is that they're willing to review your information. You've basically thrown in two questions in there. So in a kind of a weird way, they're actually agreeing to work or to meet with you, even though they may not understand that when they initially say okay. So then you send the information as promised, which, by the way, of course, you need to have a system for that. And you also have need a system to remind you to call them in a day or in an afternoon or in a week or whatever you've agreed upon, right? And then you say, hey, what was your favorite part about the material I sent? Or did you have any specific questions about the material I sent, right? And they say, yeah, we have 4 questions. Great. Just so I know and can spend a couple minutes preparing for those, go ahead and tell me now. And then when we meet tomorrow afternoon, I'll give you all the details. Sound good? So you're kind of alluding constantly to this using the we, us, together, team, these kind of things. And then when you ask for the appointment, it's just simply the natural next step. Make sense? Here's something called the trial close. We have gone over enough today that meeting would be our next step. And they say, I'm not really sure, right? That's an indication that you have not shown them why they should trade a half an hour of their life to learn more about you and your offering. So that's a very good indication that it's time to ask more questions. Make sure if you got a question or a comment, just shout it out, okay? The next close is the assumptive close. It sounds like we should meet. That's kind of a little bit more towards the one we started with, right? That's great. Sounds like we should meet. I'm available most times this week, so what works best for you? That's a little vague in my opinion. I'd probably say, I'll be in your area, or would you be available Thursday morning or Friday afternoon, something like that. The negative positive close: would you be offended? I like this one a lot. Would you be offended if I asked if we could meet to go over this? Oh, I'm not offended. Yeah, we could meet. Y'all see how that worked? Would you be offended if I asked you if we could meet to go over this? The take back close: I've really enjoyed visiting with you. To be honest, I'm not sure if I can be a help or not, but I'd be honored if we could meet to find out. They're like, whoa, there's a chance you might not want to work with me? No, I want you to help, right? Here's another one, the tie down close. We talk a little bit about that. We talked about this with other language patterns, right? Wouldn't it make sense for us to meet in the next day or so? Right? It sounds like we should meet. Doesn't that make sense? I tend to say this a lot. I say something like, you know what I mean? Or does that make sense? Or are you with me? Right? I'm just tying you back into the conversation. And the alternative choice close: what works better for you? Meeting today, sometime this afternoon, or would tomorrow morning be better? Okay. What are you guys hearing?
That is so many different strategies of engaging. It's just you have to pick one.
Well, I would I don't know that you have to like pick one and say I am the alternative choice closer or something like that. I think it's kind of like, that's like saying I only have a jump shot, right? I only pass the ball this way. You got to understand that there's a lot of different ways to win. And there's a good chance in most conversations you're probably gonna have to use multiple attempts to close and multiple ways to close. So it's just a set of 10 tools is the way I look at it, right?
Putting
And
it
so,
back in their court, right?
say that one more time.
It's leveraging, putting your, for me, it just comes across like it's, you hear what the concerns are, you hear what the potential client wants, and you're just putting it back in their, in their hands. feeling like they have the, the ultimate decision. It is their decision, but we're not, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking about it wrong.
Well, I think you just haven't said the last part, which is like you're putting things that you want to put into their brain so that it can be influential, right? So
Yes.
if you left it up completely to them, you may never have an appointment. So you have to be the one to share why an appointment is worthwhile, right? So then you got to say to yourself, what tools do I need to be able to secure the appointment? So these are examples of, ultimately you will get an appointment if immediately prior to trying to ask for the appointment, it is very clear that the listener has a problem and the listener believes that the speaker can solve the problem. If you've gotten there, there should be no reason why you can't get an appointment. Right.
Right.
A lot of us are used to the exact opposite, where the caller calls, let's say, the doctor's office and says, my throat hurts, I'd like an appointment. Right. The doctor doesn't have to call the person and say, is there anyone in your house right now with a throat ache? You see what I'm saying? So we're
Hey,
not
Bill.
interested, we're not experienced doing the other side. Rick, was that you?
It was. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
We're talking about the book Shift now, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's where the list of the answers to the closes that you're talking about.
The examples of the closes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, the Shift book is available like most books. You can go on YouTube and listen to an audiobook for free. Shift in particular, I have in the Google Drive as a PDF, and I can share it later in the group as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where those questions are found. That's on page 1, between 124 and 125. Okay, anyone else have any kind of ahas, any thoughts on what we talked about just now?
Sounds like, Bill, that you have to be kind of passive aggressive in a sense.
What do you mean by that?
Like just kind of show compassion, like showing like, hey, I'm listening, but kind of go in aggressive with the, okay, let's meet in a sense. But you're still listening, but you also still make sure that you get your goal together too, which is actually going on the appointment.
I wouldn't typically use the word passive aggressive, but I think everything else you said is exactly right. I think ultimately, and this may not be a popular opinion, but I'll share it with you anyway. I just don't think they're calling you to become friends. Like that's not their initial goal. Like, and I've become close friends with many clients, but that wasn't my original goal. I was being hired to get the job done.
Right.
Because I was good at getting the job done and I created a fun experience, we became friends. Does that make sense? So I wasn't going at it like trying to tell them all the things they wanted to hear. Oftentimes it's not going to get you to the closing table anyway. Sometimes they need to hear the hard stuff, right? Like when I'd show a home, for example, I wasn't generally going around saying, look at this dishwasher. Isn't this family room amazing? Look at these ceilings. Look how big backyard is. The Roswell High School District is so amazing. The test scores are awesome. I wasn't doing any of that. They know what a kitchen looks like. They don't need me for that. What they need me for is to say that's synthetic stucco. That is, I don't see a termite bond here. That's a significant amount of wood rot. That's what termite damage looks like, right? In this community, they limit renters to this percentage. Does that bother you, right? Like it's pointing out a lot of times it's pointing out the bad stuff. Does that make sense? Because I don't care what house they buy, quite frankly. And I don't want them to buy a dump, of course, because in 5 years, they're going to call me to sell it. But if we're in a home and they say the home doesn't work for them, then okay, get back in the car. We're not buying this one. Let's get back in the car. Let's try again. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
think really just like you gotta remember to ask them. You gotta remember to close. Like just because you're talking to them, you can't assume that they want you to have an appointment. Like you got to remind them in whatever way you want, or not remind them, but force the issue. You know, like I mean, I know I've been in stores and I've talked to people and I've shown like great buying signs and they're like, okay, well, you know, come back when you're ready. It's like, you could have sold it right now. You
That's
know,
exactly right. They came to you because they got a problem. Your job is to clarify the problem, echo it back to them, offer your solution, and then once you've done that, I mean, why in the world would meeting not make sense? It makes complete sense. You got a problem. I know how to solve it. Sounds like we should meet, right? There's a sometimes salespeople get a bad rap because, you know, somebody says, "Oh, you're aggressive," or "You're assertive," or something like that. I gotta tell you, I've never bought into that. Like, I am probably a little bit more assertive than the average person, and I'm probably a little bit more than the average person on the aggression side. But it's because I'm good at what I do, and if left to their own devices, they're going to end up with a crappy agent, right? The average real estate agent in Metro Atlanta sells 3 homes. So half the people that say they're a real estate agent aren't making any money at all, right? If you only sell 3 homes a year, I'm not trying to be in your face to anybody, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say, when you got into real estate, your intention was to sell more than 3 homes a year. Is that correct? Right? The intention is probably to make more than, you know, $15,000. Let's just say, right? So if that's the case, then you got to show the type of person what you do and how you do it, right? And ask for the business. So I think there's a lot of different ways to get it, but they're hiring you because you're good at your job. They're not hiring you because they want to be your friend. They believe that your style, your approach, the way you ask questions, the way you put them through the process, is you're going to be dealing with the buyer's agent that way, the attorney that way, the all the other vendors that way. They want somebody to protect them. They want somebody to stand up for them. Y'all agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. So when you feel like you're being assertive, you might need to just double check to say, "Hey, are you with me? Do you have any questions, any feedback so far?" Right? Like if somebody says, "Gosh, you're kind of assertive," right? Say, "Well, I'm curious. You are looking for an assertive agent, is that correct?" And then they're like, "Guess I never thought about it that way." You see what I'm saying? Okay, what other thoughts or comments do you have? I was hoping that the title of this class would draw more than 5 people, but you guys are going to have all the secrets now, I guess. I appreciate you being here. What other thoughts are on your mind? Do you feel like did I kind of are you doing stuff that you like weren't sure was like maybe you thought it was too assertive and now you think it's okay, or vice versa? Are you kind of intentionally seeking out phrases like this to say? How are you guys using that in your approach? Boy, you guys are quiet.
I mean, I just feel like sometimes I think you might even have to use a couple to, you know,
Oh,
if they,
definitely.
you know, and even in the same conversation, you know, like I had someone recently that they said, well, you know, I think I'm gonna wait a little while now to sell. I'm like, well, okay, well, that's fine, but I think we should still meet, you know, now, you know, or whatever. But we had to go through it a few times. Well, okay, well, this, you know, I'm gonna be busy the next few weeks. I'm like, okay, well, let's still get a date on the calendar. Like, you have to just keep sometimes trying to
Yeah, Ryan,
get.
thanks for bringing up that example. That's a good one. So ultimately, they used to have this line in the bold scripting that I hated, and I didn't like it at all. It sounded too assertive, and now I love it. And it says something to the effect of, you know, my only concern is that at a weak moment, you're going to end up finding a weak agent, right? And there will be a moment sometime in the future, maybe it'll be next week, maybe it'll be 5 years from now, that you need the advice of a real estate agent, and I want to be your resource. So even if we meet electronically, digitally for 5 or 10 minutes, I just want you to know who I am, and I want to know all about your specific situation. So because I'm on the phone with buyers and sellers all day long, I might find an opportunity for you that neither one of us expected. I just want to be on your radar, and I want you to be on my radar, right? So when's a good time to meet? Right. The other thing is they might say, well, I don't know if I don't know if I want to sell right now. Right. I would always ask the question of, so just so I'm curious, I'm just curious, is there some type of like event or time frame that you have in mind to reevaluate this? Like, is there anything like when the kids finish school, when the kids start school, when somebody moves in or moves out, or when this job gets finalized, or when I get a raise? Like, is there any marker that we should be looking for? Right. Because I've used this a lot when somebody wants to leave the market center, for example. Say, well, I want to go here because I think my business will grow if I go there. Right. Say, great. So I'm going to follow up with you because I just want to check on you and I want to make sure that you're getting everything you need. So if I were to call you in a year and your business is exactly the same as it is today, what should I say? Or if I call you in a year, how will you know that the decision you made was the best one? Right? Are we looking for like you making a certain amount of money? Are you trying to hire somebody that you haven't hired yet? Like, how do we know the decision you're making is on track? Right? So for example, you could say, I've been chatting with somebody and they said, if I have a listing by this day, I'm not going to join the program. If I don't have a listing by this day, I will join the program. Okay. I had to push that a little bit. I had to say, how will you know which direction you're going to go? And we ultimately identified a marker. And the marker is either black or white, right? It is what it is. If it's this, we do this. If it's that, we do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in that type of situation, Ryan, you could say, I'm curious, is there any particular like marker that we should be looking for? Are you looking for values to hit a certain thing? Are you looking for like, the result of the election? Like, what are we what are the other influencing factors here? Make sense? Did that address your question or thought?
Yeah, I think it just, we do have the appointment set for next week, to kind of, we set it up that way, but yeah, I got to figure out exactly what it is that's her holdback and, how to address that.
It most likely is one of a couple things. Number one is she does not know how the process is going to work out, and she has not had it laid out for her or him, meaning like, first we're going to do this, and here's how the contracts are going to work, here's how the contingencies are going to work, here's how I'm protected, here's how here's how long everything is going to take. There's probably a little fuzzy there. Like the majority of sellers, they are concerned about where they're going to move to and how the timing is impacted there. So you should polish up on your know-how on like Keller offers and knock and that kind of stuff, right? Because almost certainly those tools will
And I
need to
know
be
that
discussed.
that's what you initially expressed as a big deal, because she's afraid to sell her place without having anywhere to go. So I know that that's kind of how we set up the appointment, is like, well, look, we need to talk about these things anyway, so you can be thinking about it and how you want to do this when you're ready, but I need to probe a little more about like what's holding her back besides that. She's definitely
Well,
interested. Definitely
you
sell it.
did the right thing. You probed enough to get the appointment. Now you probe at the appointment.
Right.
If you probe too much at the beginning, you're going to end up giving them the wrong answer. Right. So like we talked about this a few weeks ago when we said something to the effect of like, you're receiving a sign call. So let's say I have a listing in Roswell and it's a 3-bedroom home. Okay. And the caller calls in and says, hey, how much is the property? and I say, oh, it's 425, and they hang up. I'm like, what just happened? Okay, 425 was too expensive for them. Right? So I lost the chance to court that person. Right? So if I say something to the degree of, oh, that's a great home, let me take a moment to look that up for you. You know, what caught your attention on the property? Now you've shifted the conversation completely. Now they're talking about stuff they want in a home. And the second they start talking about it, psychologically, the more they want it. Make sense?
Mhm.
And then when you tell them it's a 3-bedroom home, or maybe by that time they're looking for a 4-bedroom home. So instead of saying, well, this is a 3-bedroom home, I hope you have a nice day. Horrible response. What you should say is, you know, I happen to have a 4-bedroom home available too, or I'm in front of my computer right this moment. You know, I'm looking for other 4-bedroom homes that might be a match for you. What are the other important factors that you're looking for? Maybe we can see a couple of homes when we see this one together. Right? So you've shifted the focus of the conversation entirely from you know, what is the answer to my question, to let's talk about the possibilities of you living in a different home. Right? Because if you ask enough questions, right, do you want to be in this school district? Is the laundry on the bottom level or the top level? Oh, it's on the top level. I need one with the bottom level. Bye. You follow me? So you generally want to try to avoid answering the question directly. You want to ask them another question so you can understand that idea a little bit more thoroughly. Okay. Now, and of course, you can always go back to, listen, there's a lot of information in the marketplace, and there's a lot of misinformation in the marketplace. And this is a big deal. These are big decisions that you're about to make. So I just want to make sure that you have a full understanding of how to be successful in this marketplace. And the great news is my brokerage and we have a lot of great resources to help somebody exactly in the same type of situation you're in. I'd love to explain all of those ideas to you. Would you prefer to meet this afternoon or tomorrow? Right. So my tone was, oh my gosh, I really want to help you. I have so many great things to share with you. It wasn't, you want to meet today or tomorrow? You see what I'm saying? I came from compassion. I came from curiosity. Okay. Anyone else that hasn't said anything want to share anything today?
I'll say, Bill, I agree. You know, just going on an appointment with a different outlook. I know I explained the listing appointment that I went on last week, which I would say I pretty much got the listing. But the one thing that I feel as though got me the listing was I was able to say, hey, I have somebody to change the locks. I'll be here tomorrow to give you a quote, and you know, kind of make something more than just, hey, you know, I see that this needs to be done. So just having resources available in your back pocket, I think is absolutely a plus.
Right. And you got to exactly, like, here's a good way to think about it, is like, they not only wanted to sell their home, but they also need to get like the floors changed, and they need a painter, and they need somebody to fix the broken, you know, disposal or whatever. Right? They have all these little challenges, and unless you figure out a way to help them solve them, then they're going to look at you as another challenge. Right? They want you want them to look at you as the savior to all that. Oh my gosh, if I just hire this guy, all my problems go away. This is fantastic. Where do I sign? Right? And in order to give them that clarity, you might just come out and say it. Look, selling a home is really complicated. There's a lot of vendors involved. There's a lot of deadlines that need to be made. There's a lot of marketing and websites and calls and lock boxes and contracts and contingencies, and it can be stressful. Good news is myself and my team are going to handle all that for you. Right? So what is the most important thing that you're expecting your realtor to do for you? Oh, I want my realtor to call me every 15 minutes until the deal's closed. I'm not doing that. Right? But if they tell you what they want, then you can determine if that's somebody that you want to work with, right? If you want to get into a relationship with them. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Kathy, what else did you learn today? Sorry to put you on the spot like that.
Oh, great. Actually, just I need to be better with my closing and the rejection handlers, that kind of thing. I'm saying that now because I think I told you last week about a client that called me like at 9:30 at night when you were telling me that I need to close up shop and my life is, everything is all over the place. Well, anyway, he was talking about commission and I had to, pretty much defend myself and my commission. And if I don't do that, why would I be doing, going to bat for you and anything? Anyway, everything went well. He liked that and he wants me to list his home, but because I'm not confident in those objection handlers, the scripts, I need to get to work on that.
I mean, the fact of the matter is you handled it and you got the appointment. So
I did, but I was really
nailed
nervous
everything
because
so far.
it, just kind of hit me at like, oh crap, this is one of those.
Well, you should be prepared for all of that. And
Yeah,
honestly,
absolutely.
you may have winged it, but it sounds like you did a
I
good
did.
job. Right.
I did wing it. Yeah.
So how next time can you not wing it? And what I would say is I would put more emphasis on learning how to convert the lead to an appointment by sharing your value and asking great questions. Because if you nail that, they'll be asking for the appointment. Right.
And that's the crazy thing. Well, you already know, Bill, I'm kind of all over the place, but obviously I'm doing something.
Don't tell yourself you're all over the place, because then your brain says, I'm scattered, I'm nervous, I've got anxiety, I can't handle this. You got a lot of opportunities right now, all of which you've earned, and you're going to nail every one of them. You're just going to nail them one at a time. And you got a whole group of people to help you nail each one at a time. So quit telling yourself that you're scattered.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's scattered, but I'm getting the work. So it's like something is working. I'm winging it, but this winging it may not pay off.
You're learning every day. Every day you identify a new task that needs to be, tweaked or focused on or implemented or practiced or whatever. And you're building a business. This is how it works, right? You go to work, you do the best you can, you have the right attitude, you get slapped around a little bit and you say, oh, I need to practice that a little bit. Oh, I need to redo that. Oh, I need to say that script 100 times, right? And when you wake up tomorrow, you're gonna be better, right? So the question is am I better every day? And how am I going to get better every day? That's the point. So you're not expected to nail every single thing and every single conversation.
Yeah.
You are expected to learn from every failure, right? And to get better and better every single day. Because I will promise you, there are realtors out there today that will not behave like realtors. They will not make any calls. They will not study the market. They will not practice. And today is your day to take their market share.
I agree. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, beautiful. You guys, remember we moved the language skills class from Thursday to today. That's going to be at 12 o'clock today, 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock in this room. And
what is that class?
It's just basically a pop-up class for to help agents with conversations like this. Language skills would be things like objection handling and kind of the process in which that happens, like some language techniques for redirecting or getting more detail, these kind of things. So that's from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock today here in this room. And don't forget about the evening event from 6 to 8 tonight. We will be feeding you and a +1. So if you've not RSVP'd, please do so. And there will be some door prizes and sponsors and that kind of stuff too. So I'm excited to share a bunch of announcements with you. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Hey, tell everyone in the group how much you learned today so they feel like they missed it, because so few of you came. All right. Have a good day.
Good information. Thanks, Bill.
You too.
Thanks, Donna.
Bye.